Amber Bell here with Real Agriculture. I am at Crossroads Conference in Edmonton and currently speaking with Travis Olson of Alberta Counsel. So it's great to see you again, Travis.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. You have a new role with Alberta Counsel. Can you speak into that? What are you doing there?
My role at Alberta Counsel, so it's essentially a lobbying or government relations firm, and we help all kinds of different organizations, sometimes it's corporate, sometimes it's producer groups, do their lobbying with the government. So they've got a set of criteria of things that they want to see accomplished, that they want to either get meetings with ministries, and we kind of direct traffic a little bit and do our best to convince government that they should do whoever employs us asks them to do, essentially. Yeah.
Right. And what is some of the general messaging that you're seeing come from a lot of the industry groups?
Well, I think every group is different as far as general messaging. I mean, everybody wants to have a closer relationship with government. Sometimes when you go through administration changes, sometimes some groups have got a really great relationship with, say it's environment, say it's forestry and parks, they've got really good relationship with the deputy minister, say, and they've got a direct line and they always have had. And then all of a sudden the administration changes, you've got a new minister, a new staff, and then they say, oh, well, all of a sudden we're not getting the response that we used to get, and they want to build that relationship. So that's part of what we do, from throwing cocktail parties and receptions to sitting down at meetings, having dinner, all kinds of different things, just getting the ear of the decision makers, not necessarily always the minister either. Sometimes it's down within the ministry. Sometimes.
Within different departments.
Yeah, within different departments, yeah. Mm-hmm. And half of it's navigating who exactly to talk to, because there's people have different spheres of influence.
Right, and I guess every government that comes in has different levels and different ways that they want you to work with the different people within their government, right? So earlier we were talking about food security versus food affordability.
Right.
And so if you could just speak into that a little bit, because I think it's a really important topic, and I think that the government tends to talk food security a lot more than affordability. So can you speak into that a bit?
Well, we did some work in a previous life. We did some focus grouping of individuals, asking them this specific question. And if you asked someone about food security, is that an important issue? Everyone answers yes, of course. It's very important. We made them rank it. It usually came down pretty close to the bottom. They believed it was important, but it came down low on the list of priorities. When we talk about food affordability, all of a sudden that's something that people buying groceries for their family, and they've got, spending $1,000 a month on food. It's not so much that they're worried that the food isn't going to be in the grocery store, but rather that their family isn't going to be able to afford it.
Right.
So changing some of the ways that we talk, and we want messages that resonate with consumers and with voters and with the people and the decision makers, and talking about food affordability tends to be more of a winner than food security.
Right. And what are some of the reasons that that's important for producers to consider?
Well, I think it's important. If we're constantly, we just heard in the last speaker, the conversation around AI. People are constantly Googling everything, right? So they want to know, if it pertains to some of the issues that are happening provincially. Right now, we've got the government participating in consultation with people regarding the Water Act, okay? So if you're an irrigator and you're relying on getting your allocation for water, how to message, politicians are just making the decisions on behalf of their general electorate. So understanding what's important to people and the messaging that will resonate with them is important, that we get citizens on our side too, right?
Right.
So understanding what is going to resonate with them. So if I'm an irrigator and I want to press upon the general public how important getting my water allocation, because that's making food affordable. Affordable food resonates more clearly than saying there's going to be no food in the grocery stores. Because most people in Canada have never experienced that. They've never gone to the grocery store and had there been nothing to buy on the shelves.
We had a little bit of time during COVID where it was
just a few days, and it was such a shock to the system. It's not like Russia or Venezuela or some of the places that legitimately have had food shortages.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, and earlier we were speaking even about food banks and how food bank usage is up. However, those people too are considering affordability.
It's more of an affordability thing than a security. People keep using the word food security, but it's not really about security.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. And so going back to kind of that messaging piece, because you work in messaging, what do you think is the importance when it comes down to the farmer level? Because I do feel like a lot of the times we're on our farms, we're not necessarily thinking about the consumer that's going to consume that end product, right? So why do you think it's important that the average producer considers their story?
Well, there's always a big disconnect between what you think people should believe and what they do, and usually people believe something out of emotion rather than fact. So as soon as we can put ourselves into the shoes of the consumer, understanding they don't know very much about how food is produced or and get down to the emotions. And one of the best analogies I've ever heard was if they talk about like hormones, okay, for just the example of animal implants in cattle. We can say, well, when I implant an animal in a feedlot setting and they get butchered, it only increases the hormone level 3 parts per billion, okay? Well, you know, it's at I'm making these numbers up, but it's at 23 parts per billion and now it went up to 26. That's only the difference of that hormone implant. But if I went to your well and said, open up your well and poured a glass of urine in it and say, well, listen, it's only an increase of 3 parts per billion, what are you upset about? Well, people don't want any urine in their well, right? So it still might be at it sounds disgusting, but a relatively healthy level, but when you put it in that frame of mind, people don't want any part of that. So part of it is not science-based, it's emotion-based, and when we understand that, I think we can do a better job of communicating with our cousins in the cities that don't understand agriculture.
Right. It's a really good point. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And that was Travis Olson on Real Agriculture.
Thank you.